Hello everyone, welcome back for a lecture 2 of Introduction to Music Theory. Today we're going to be going on with chapter 0 and looking at rhythmic durations, the division of quarter notes, and going on into different types of meters. So that is what's on the agenda for today. Before we start, I just wanted to let you know that in the classroom, there are the answers for the questions from lecture 1. There is a screenshot of the responses there. So just letting you know, get those done and check your answers with those. And if there are any questions, let me know. All right. So beginning, we're going to discuss, let me get my colors up here. We're going to discuss quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. So basic unit of duration is the quarter note. It is written as a filled in note head, kind of like this. So this is a very squiggly quarter, written with a filled in note head and a stem. So these lines that are coming off of the, let's see here, this is an H, the note head. And whenever I'm writing these abbreviations, just copy down the actual word. It just takes too long for me to write out note head. So NH, note head. And here we have the stem. The stem, kind of like a plant, it's this long, usually straight, not wavy, line that's coming off of the note head. Now, do all notes have this? No, and we'll see that. So it's filled in note head and has a stem. Two quarter notes together make one half note. So we're going to have to do some math here. Two quarter notes, two of these added together is going to make a half note. Now, to start here, well, actually, let's continue on. Half note is written with an open note head. As you can see here, we have our note head. Unlike up here, it is open, an open note head. And it also has the stem. Two half notes combined together. Let's just write down here. Two half notes combined together. That is going to get us a whole note. And is written as an open note head with no stem. As I was saying before, not all notes get stems. So two of these half notes, that's going to get us a whole note. And it's kind of a larger oval shape. Now, to bring some math to this, to make more sense of the nomenclature here, if we have a quarter note, let's have that equal to 1 quarter. So it's 1 over 4, 1 quarter, and this is also equal to 1 over 4, 1 quarter. Let's zoom in here. So we have these added together, 1 quarter plus 1 quarter, that's going to give us 1 half. And as we have our quarter note and quarter note here, we get a half note. And same thing down here, we have our 1 half plus 1 half. Well, half, that's going to give us 1, our whole note up there. Now, as we can see here, quarter notes have filled in note heads and a stem. There's our quarter notes. And this is a great graphic here for visualizing what's going on. So we have our quarter notes, half notes, open note head, filled in note head with stem, open note head with stem. And here, it doesn't say so, but no stem. no stem on the whole note. Whole note has a duration of 2 half notes, 4 quarter notes. So we can see that here, these 4 quarter notes come together to make 2 half notes, which come together to make 1 whole note. When writing quarter notes and half notes, make sure the stem is an octave in length. So we're going to look at this, an octave in length. When the note is on or below the space of the staff, the stem goes, second space of the staff, sorry. The stem goes to the right and points up. So it goes to the right and up. When the note is on or above the third line of the staff, the stem goes to the left and, you guessed it, down. So let's look at the examples we have here. We have some note heads. Note heads with stems that are going up. So we have stem is on the right side of the note head. That's good. That's a check mark. Right is good. Stem, or let's go to this one, sorry. Stem is 1 octave long. Let's check. So here, if I just write on the staff here, here is E. And if we go up, here is the E 1 octave above. So here we have our distance of 1 octave. And the stem goes, goes right to the center of these 2 lines. That's great. G, same thing. Our G would be right here. And it looks like our stem is going perfectly that high. Now, for these here, which are above the third staff line, these stems are going down. So the stem is down on the left side of the note head. So we're on the left side. That's check mark. That's good. And the stems, get rid of this. Stems are going down. So that's another check mark. Great. The stems, let's check again. This is an E, so an E an octave below is here. And it's 1 long, same here, a B. So for this B low, octave below, we're going to need a ledger line. And that looks like it's about an octave too. So these are perfect. This is what we want to see. Now, moving over here to the poor side, stems are pointing in the wrong direction. So here we have a stem that is below, that's a bad color, apologies, that is below the third line of staff. So it is supposed to be going up. It's supposed to be here, going upwards. And in addition to that, it doesn't look like this is long enough. For this to be a G, it would have to go around here. I suppose it's a little bit long enough, but it could be, I think it could be slightly longer, just a little bit longer. It looks a little bit stubby. And the same with this, it's above the third line. So this should not be here. It should be on this side, going down to about here. This is where D would be an octave below her. Here, same thing. We're going in the right direction this time. Down, that's check mark. That's a good thing. But look at this. Our D we would typically put here, and it's too much line going down. The stem is too long. And here, obviously, going in the right direction again. So that's good. It's going up, but this is a very, very stubby stem. It should be extended much longer up to there. So that is the rundown on stems, stem placements, which direction, which side of the note head they go. Most important thing is remembering which direction, so up, down, and your left and right. That is the most important. So think first about this, the direction, if you want it on the left or the right. So is it going to be above or below that middle third line? And then After that, we want to make sure that we have an octave in length. All right, let's just check if I'm recording here. Yes, it appears that I am. Moving on with some more fun, we have our 8th and our 16th notes. So more divisions of the quarter note that we're going to look at. So just as quarter notes can be combined to create longer durations, so just as we did up here, where we have our quarter notes getting combined, 2 quarter notes make a half note, 2 halves make a whole, as we did over here. Just as quarter notes can be combined to create longer durations, they can be divided to create shorter ones. Quarter note can be divided into 2/8. So 1 quarter can be divided into 2/8. That makes mathematical sense. Each written with a filled note head and a stem with a flag. So let's just look at that first. We have our quarter note, and then we have our 2/8 notes. So we know our quarter note, it's got the long stem on it. These also got our long stem on it. And they have this thing called a flag, which we're going to kind of make a little shape off like that. Little flag. You've probably seen these before. Just kind of like waving in the wind here. Little flag. These are called flags. All right. This is an important term, flags. When 2/8 notes occur together as a pair, join them with a beam instead of using flags. All right, so we have these two notes here, these 2/8 notes. If we have an 8th note on its own, sure, let's have our stem and let's have our flag flapping in the wind. If we have 2 of them next to each other, however, like this, we are not going to put flags as like we did up here. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to take them and attach them together. So imagine taking these 2 flags up here and taking this one and pulling it over and taping them together. Tape these 2 hangy bits together. And that is going to give us this, which we call a beam. So we call this beaming the 2/8 notes together. We're beaming them together. Further, an 8th note can be divided into 2 16th notes. So this just keeps going, an 8th into a 16th. Each written as a filled-in note head with a double flag. So our base 16th note here, this is our 16th, 1/16. So that will be 2/8 notes or 1/8 note makes 2/16. It's just how the math works out. We have our stem, and instead this time we have not 1, but 2 flags, double flag, and that is our 16th. Likewise, when they're in groups, in this case in pairs or groups 4, join together with a double beam. So a double beam is the exact same thing as, let's do this actually, is the exact same thing as a single beam, except there's 2 of them. So here are our 8ths. We have our 8th notes, like this. And they're joined together with our beam. Then we have our, let's zoom in here, we have our 16ths. And they all have their stems. They're all connected together, but they're connected with 2. Since they have 2 flags, they have a double beam, a double beam. So this this here, our 2/8 are equal to 4/16. These 4/16. And once again, mathematically, you have 2/8 is equal to 4/16, which, if we go backwards here, we can also say is equal to 1/4. So these, the 2/8 and the 4/16 are also equal to 1/4. Here's our quarter. So these, everything circled in blue here, these are all equal. They're all equal. We can keep going further with this, with the 16th. So if we took these 16th, we can make them into 30 seconds. So if we have 4/16, like we have here, do the math. 4/16 is equal to how many 30 seconds? That's 8 30 seconds. So we would have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 30-second notes here, all joined together very roughly. 8 30 seconds. And they're going to have 3. They're going to have a triple beam. But that's a little bit beyond what we're doing right now. But just know that the subdivisions, they keep going, and like 64ths are possible. Everything's possible there. Moving down, they give us a little bit of a diagram here. So we have our two quarter notes right here. These are our 2 quarter notes. They both break apart into 2/8 notes, which gives us 4 in total. 4/8 notes. And these break apart again, like this, into 8/16. If we multiply these here, we get 2 quarters, 4/8. We're just multiplying these top numbers here. This is simple fractions. And this is 8/16. And all of these are equal to the same. They're all the same. So these subdivisions, it's all subdivisions of the same 2 quarters. So they're all equal. Here we just have them showing that they can be written apart like this, or take these flags and connect them. Same here, connect these flags like they're doing on the right side with the beams. All right. Let's continue with our dots, ties, and triplets. So far, all durations we've considered involve halving, doubling the quarter note. So as we've done here, we are halving, doubling, doing all these fractional things with it, but they were all remaining the same. We can create additional rhythmic values by using the augmentation dot. So we usually just call it the dot. A dot placed directly after a note increases the duration of the note by 1/2. So we have a very good diagram here that I will try to explain. Ooh, it's a bad line. So we have our half note. Boom, our half note. And this is normally equal to a half note. However, if we put our little dot friend here, well, that is going to increase this by half of its current value. So what's half? We already have a half. If we take half of a half, well, that's going to get us a quarter. So this little dot is going to increase by a quarter. So our actual value is going to be that plus a quarter. We can do the same with a quarter note. Normally, quarter note is equal to a quarter note. However, if we put the dot on our quarter note. Half of a quarter note, that's going to give us an eighth note. So we're going to add an eighth note to this. So we're just going the division down to get half of whatever this note is worth. Sorry, the dot there. And then we're adding that, and we can see that very clearly over here. So we call this a dotted half note. Dotted half note is going to be equal a half note plus half its value, which is a quarter note. Same thing here, dotted quarter equals a quarter plus an eighth. Dotted eighth equals an eighth plus a 16th. As an example of something that's not here, that we might see in a minute, if we take a whole note, and there's our massive whole note, which is worth 1, and we put a dot on that, well, what's half of 1? Half of 1 is 1/2. So we're going to add our whole note plus a half. And that's how you would do that for a whole note. And of course you can do this, add the dot to any note, and it works in the same way. You just take half of whatever the original note is and add it on. Okay, so dotted rhythms often divide a duration in two unequal parts. So we have our whole note, and we get our dotted half note plus our quarter is going to equal our whole. So this is more of just what we've been saying up here. We have our whole note, and we get a half note, which is dotted, so half note plus a quarter, and then we have our quarter note. So altogether, these two equal 1/2, equal 1/2, and then this equals, adding this together, equals 1. So we get our whole at the top here. Same thing here. We have our dotted, which is equal to 3 quarter notes, plus a quarter note. Let's zoom in here. 3 quarter notes plus a quarter note. That's going to equal a whole. Same thing here. Let's look at, create a border here. Let's look at this. We have half note. We have an eighth note. Here we have a quarter plus an eighth, because we have the quarter, and then the dot adds an eighth to it. All of these together, 1/8 plus 1/8 plus a quarter, that's going to equal 1/2. So this checks out. Down here we have a quarter. Here we have, let's look at the left first. Here we have a 16th. Since we have these two, this little flag here along with the beam, this is a 16th note. And here we just have the single beam, so we know that that's an eighth note. The dot here gives us half of the eighth note, so it adds us a 16th. 16th, and an eighth, that's going to equal a quarter. So this also, green, checks out. Perfect. And it's more or less the same thing on this side. This is also correct. So if you look at the text here, dotted eighth plus 16th equals a quarter. Dotted eighth and 16th are frequently beamed together. Yes, this is true. Frequently you will see this. You will see the eighth and the 16th beamed together with this little flag coming out. All right, still more rhythmic values become available with ties. A tie connects two notes. Connecting two notes, combines their durations into a single note. So it combines their durations into a single note. Let's look down here. We have, this is a very, very good diagram here. We have our whole, our whole, and we have a quarter. These are tied together with what we call a tie. It's a line that's connecting both of them. And these two tied together are just going to mean adding the duration together. So we get 1 1/4. very simple. We have our 1, our whole note tied to our quarter note. It's going to give us a whole note plus a quarter note. Same thing here. We have our 1/8 and our half note. That's going to give us our 1/8 plus half note. Very simple. Let's look, this is also a good example. If I come over here and I do this, and I have 2 of these notes and they're tied together like that. That's going to give us, let's see, 1/2 plus 1/2. That'll give us a whole note. So this has the exact same duration as a whole note. They're equal. All right, triplets. Triplets divide a rhythmic unit, usually a half or a quarter note. Yes, usually a half or a quarter note, into 3 parts instead of the typical 2. All right, so if you look here, we have a half note divided into triplet quarter notes. So if we were to take this half note and divide it normally, what would we get? So dividing it normally, we would normally get to, oh, sorry, a little bit too big. We would get to quarter notes, right? This is equal. They're equal to each other. This is what we expect. However, we can divide it into 3 as well, where this half note is actually divided into 3 quarter notes. We indicate that with this bracket on top and the 3. Same thing over here. We have our quarter, which would normally divide into our 2/8 or bracket it together. However, here we're dividing it into 3/8 with 3 and beating them all together, so we get 3 notes. Number 3 within the bracket, yes, that's 3 in the bracket, tells you that the notes divide a longer note into 3 equal parts. Yes, so they're dividing this quarter note into 3 equal parts, as opposed to us dividing it into 2 equal parts, like we were doing before. And we'll come to this later, and you'll hear this in music that you're playing all the time. If you see it notated, that's even better. But essentially what we're doing is instead of dividing our notes into 2 equal parts, we're taking it and we're dividing it into 3 equal parts, 3, and we're indicating that with a bracket and a 3 underneath. Rests. We've heard of rests before. A rest indicates a duration of silence. Yes, we know this. Rests can correspond to any rhythmic value. So any value that a note, the duration of a note can also be the duration of a rest. They're written in the middle of the staff. Most of the time, they are written in the middle of the staff. There are some exceptions, but not for what we're doing. So on top here, we see our, we see our whole note, our half, or it's actually a dotted half. So we have our half plus a quarter because of the dot. And we have our half, and so on with our dotted rhythms. Keep going. And as you can see, we can represent that. Each one has a corresponding rest. The rests may be dotted, just as the notes might be dotted. And there are certain rules for how we write rests. A whole note, rests, hangs below the 4th line. So the 4th line of the staff, regardless of the clef, is our 4th line, and it's going to just chill as a little cube, little rectangle. Draw one. Below, it's going to hang off. It's hanging off. Now, a half rest, half note rest, sits on the third line. So here's our third line, and our half note rest is going to sit just like the cube on our third line. If we want our dotted half note rests, like our dotted half note up here, we just take our half rests and add our little dot friend to it. I'm not going to try to draw these, but this is how we would represent a quarter. It's with a rest kind of shaped, kind of like that. People have different ways of drawing them. I tend to draw kind of like that. This is the general shape for a quarter rest. As you can see, we can also have the dot on the quarter rest. Here we have our 16th rest, or our 8th rest, sorry, right here. You draw those with a little circle and then a little line, kind of like a sideways 7 coming out like that. And our 16th, similar to what we do with the flags, we add 2 of these dots like that, coming off of our weird 7 shape. So that's how we write those. Important thing is they always go in the same place on staff. So our half will always be sitting on the third line, and our fourth will always be hanging from the fourth, or our whole note, whole rest will always be hanging from, hanging down, hang. Our quarter rest will always more or less be in the center of the staff, along with our 8th and our 16th rests. They'll all more or less be in the center. All right, moving on to a simple meter. All right, moving on, we're going to be discussing simple meters. So, reading what the book has here. Meter is the arrangement of rhythm into a pattern of strong and weak beats. Strong and weak beats is important. The beat is a steady, regular pulsation at a moderate speed. Beats are grouped into measures. Another important term, also called bars, and they're separated by bar lines. First beat of each measure is accented and called, so accented, and it's called the downbeat. The remaining beats of the measure are weaker and lead to the downbeat of the following measure. So we have the downbeat, actually, let's see here, downbeat, and all the other beats, they're leading to the downbeat. So beat, 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 they're all leading to the downbeat. Now, a time signature, highlight here, consists of 2 stacked numbers. So we have number over a number, kind of like a fraction. And it defines the meter. The bottom number determines the note value of each beat. If the beat unit is not dotted, the meter is simple. So not dotted, meter is simple. In simple meters, the quarter note, indicated by a 4 at the bottom of the time, is the most common beat. But you can have 1/8 notes, you can have 1/2 notes, and they will also function the same way. So in our time signature, we'll see things for a simple meter. In simple meters, we'll have a 4 on the bottom and then a number on the top. So this number can be 2, 3, 4, 5 even, but let's put asterisks next to that one. top number of the time signature determines the number of beats. The number of beats. So top number determines the number of beats in each measure. In simple meters, this number is 2, 3, or 4. That's why I highlight these 2, 3, or 4 as the number on top. If there are 4 beats per measure, a 4 appears at the top of the time signature, and we call that quadruple meter. For quadruple simple meters, the most common time signature is 4/4. That is by far the most common time signature ever. Most common ever. It indicates that there are 4 quarter notes, 4 quarter notes per measure. And it's sometimes called common time and labeled with this little C. So 4/4, we'd write that. We have our 4 on the bottom, indicating the quarter note. And then on the top, we have another 4. So this 4 is indicating the quarter note. Ooh, sorry, it's indicating the quarter note. And this 4 on top is indicating that there are 4 quarter notes, 4 quarter notes per measure. And of course, we can also see things like, we can see 2/4, 3/4. Those are also common. All right. 4/4 is a quadruple simple meter. Each downbeat, which is the first beat of the measure, let's highlight these downbeats here. Each downbeat is the first beat of the measure, and it is strong. The remaining 3 beats are weaker. Remaining 3 beats are weaker, and they lead to the next downbeat. Like we were showing up here, we have the downbeat, and then leads around to next. So if we count these beats, let's see what we have here. We have the downbeat. This is beat 1. We have this next beat, beat 2, beat 3, and beat 4. We have 4 beats because we're 4/4 time. It's divided into 4 quarter notes, and we can go along 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue this. So we have the dotted half here, which we know is worth 1, 2, 3 quarter notes. So that's where we get our 3 from. 1. This measure is very easy. By the way, we can see these. These are bar lines. These are bar lines. Bar lines, BL. Bar lines all the way along. Bar lines, bar lines. And they separate every 4. Every 4 is a bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just align these with the arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have our downbeats indicated by these large arrows, and our downbeats, as we saw up here, we can label this as 1, first beat. This is our second beat. This is our third, fourth, and 1 is always downbeat. So you can see that labeled by these larger areas. So we got downbeat on 1. Those are all our downbeats. And the remaining 3 beats, these remaining, just put green on top of these are our weak beats. So let's see, let's write here. Weak and strong. There we go. So you can kind of see here, the top number of the time signature tells you the number of beats per measure. Okay, so we got our 4/4. 4 beats per measure. I'll just write measure. That's what we have here. In simple meters, the bottom number tells you the note value of beat. So we have 4 here, 4 here. That is, you get that 4 from the 4 in quarter, 4, and like we're showing before, that gives us our quarter note. There's our quarter note. Whoa. Making a mess here. There's our quarter note. So we have 4 quarter notes, 4 quarter notes in each measure. In this case, the beat is the quarter note. Yes, beat is the quarter note. If there are 3 beats per measure, a 3 appears, 3 beats per measure, a 3 appears at the top of the time signature, and meter is triple as opposed to quadruple. So we had our quadruple, squad. Now we have our 3 on top, and this is triple. So this is our bar. What's triple going to be? Well, triple, we're going to have 4, or 3, sorry. 3 quarter notes. 3 quarter notes. Correct? 3 quarter notes. And we can see that down here. 3 is a triple simple meter, and it still has strong and weak beats. In this case, it has a strong and a weak and a weak. And we can see that. Here's our strong. We have strong on 1 still. In this case, we have, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 1, 2, 3, because we only have the 3 quarter notes. And 1 is still our strong, and this time, instead of 3 weak beats, we only have 2 weak beats. All right, time signature indicates 3 quarter notes. And here we can see an example of beams getting beamed together. So here we have our flag that we discussed earlier, flag, and here we have beams. And the reason we're alternating between flags and beams is because if we look here, here is our first beat, here is our third beat, and our second beat is kind of floating around in here somewhere. You can see these 2 notes are connected with the beam, and they lie entirely inside the beat. Here we only have 1 quarter, only have 1/8, sorry, and it is outside of the beat. It does not have a partner there. Same thing here. These 2 lie entirely inside of beat 1. So beams usually span 1 single beat. Yes, here, a quarter note. All right. Here, now we get to talk about duple meters. Duple meters have 2 beats per measure. 2/2 is a simple duple meter, so we have 2, 2. Now 2/2, what is this going to mean? We're going to have, 2 at the bottom. What's this? We get our 2 from here. 1 over this is a half note. So we're going to have, this is 2, we're going to have 2 half notes, 2 half notes per measure. And we see that down here. Sometimes it can also be represented, so we saw that 4/4 can be represented by the C, and 2/2 can be represented by a C with a line through it. So in this, in 2/2, in duple meter, the half note is getting our beat. So we see here, we have 2 half notes, 2 half notes, 1, 2. Here we have 1, 2. This is a half note plus a quarter, so there's an invisible quarter right here we don't actually see. So we have a half note and 2 quarters. That's going to equal a half note, half note. Same thing here. Half note, these two combined are half note. These two combined are half note. And we have a whole note here, which is 2 halves. All right. Time signature 2/2 indicates 2 half notes per 2 half note beats per measure, which we just saw right here. We just wrote them in, 2 half beats per measure. So that is the end of our simple meters. Now we'll move on to compound meter. All right, let's finish up with compound meter here. Let's move through this quickly. So in simple meters, the beat is divided into 2 parts. Quarter note beats contain 2 eighth notes. So remember, we have our quarter, our quarter, and the quarter divides into our 2 eighths. Like that, and we can go up the other way too and get our this. Draw on 2 pages here, and we can get our half note. We're dividing into 2, so every time we divide, we're getting 2 more. So it contains 2 eighth notes, half notes. Beats contain 2 quarter notes. In compound meters, the beat is divided into 3 parts. This is where we have a difference. And it's related to the triplet that we discussed earlier. And the beat itself is a dotted note. Beat itself is a dotted note. Because the bottom number of a time signature cannot show a dotted beat unit, compound time signatures show instead the divisions of the beat. If the bottom number of the compound time signature is 8, the beat will be a dotted quarter note. This will make sense in a second, which is 3 eighth notes grouped together. Other beat units are also possible. A dotted half note can be divided into 3 quarter notes, or a dotted eighth note into 3 sixteenths. The top number of a compound time signature, top number, is 6, 9, or 12, and shows the number of beat divisions in each measure. Divide by 3 to find the number of beats in each measure. Like simple meters, compound meters may be duple, 6 times into a triple, or quadruple. So, for our compound meters, we have the following. 6/8. This is what we're going to be looking at. 9/8 and 12/8. So what we're looking at here is the same kind of idea as before. We have our eighth at the bottom. So let's look at the bottom. Eighth, that's going to be 1/8. So we're going to have our eighth note, and we're going to have 12 of them. We're going to have 12 eighth notes. Same here, we're going to have 6 eighth notes, 9 eighth notes. So if we look down here, 9/8 is a triple compound meter. It's triple because we get 3 sets of 3. So 3 triple, we get 3 sets of 3 eighth notes. We could not possibly do duple in 9/8 since 2 does not go into 9. There is no set of 2 that can go into 9. So we are with our set of 3. Triple time signature, 3 dotted quarter note beats per measure in a pattern of strong, weak, weak. So we still have that strong, weak, weak beats. Starting with our strong. Strong is always our beat 1. Strong. These are all strong, strong, strong. And these are always weak. Weak, 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 weak. Now, in terms of 3 dotted quarter note beats, that is referring to each one of these. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 beats. But this is not, you might think, oh, 3 beats, 3, 4. We are not looking at 3, 4. We're looking at 9, 8. So this means we have to have 9, our 9 eighth notes. So if we only have 3 beats, each beat is going to need, let's zoom in here, each beat is going to need 3 eighth notes. And that's where we get our total of 9 eighths. 9 eighths. In terms of this 3 dotted quarter notes, we can simplify these 3 eighths into 1 dotted quarter. So we have a quarter plus an eighth. Quarter plus an eighth is equal to 3 eighths. And that's where we get this 3 dotted quarter beats per measure from. Moving forward here, let's take a quick look at 6/8, which is going to be similar to our 9/8. It is also it's a duple compound meter, which means we have 2 beats per measure. We have a strong in each measure, and we have 1 weak in each measure. Same kind of logic applies as before. We have beat 1 and beat 2. Let's get a smaller size here. Beat 1 and beat 2. Beat 1 and beat 2. 1, 2. Within each of these beats, we have 3 beats, like so. And so as you can see, our 6 here means we have 6 eighths, and we get our eighth from the bottom number there. We have 6 eighths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's our 6 eighths, and each beat gets 3. Each beat gets 3 eighths. Time signature tells you that there are 6 eighth notes per measure, like 6 eighths per measure. 6 eighths. Arranged as 2 groups. Here are 2 groups at the top, 2 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3. Very similar to what we did up here, but just with 1 less big beat. Each beat still gets our 3 eighths. Here, a quick note about beaming. Beams usually span 1 single beat. So we have, this is 1 beat, this is 1 beat. So as you can see, our beams are together for each beat. All right, a summary of what we have. We have our simple half note time signatures, simple half note meters. We have our duple, triple, quadruple, so 2-2, 3-2, 4-2. The simple half note is the 2 underneath. Then we have our simple quarter note. We still have 2, 3, 4, our duple, triple, quadruple, and instead we have our 4 underneath for our quarter note. Do note too these C and the C with the slash. Same thing here. We have an 8th note, 8 on the bottom with our duple, triple, quadruple. Here we have a compound time with a dotted half note. We have our 4s underneath, and this time we have two sets of 3 quarters in this case, and that's how we get our 6 on top. Same thing here, 3 sets of 3, we get our 9, 4 sets of 3, we get our 12. Here is the ones we're looking, you won't often see a 4 underneath. This is very, not too common. You will see this all the time. You will see the 8th all the time. And once again, the 16 less common as well. Although you do see 12-16 and 12-8 more often. And we get that the same way. We have our duple time times duple time times our 3, in this case, our 3/8 notes, and that gets us that, and so on for the rest of these. I'm just gonna check the time very quickly. We have, all right. Let's just go over very quickly what an anacrusis is. So, an anacrusis is a piece of music in any meter. This can be done in any meter, and it begins on a downbeat, the first beat of the measure, or it may begin in the middle of an incomplete measure. So if we look down here, we have first measure of the piece right here. Well, there's supposed to be 3 quarter notes. And that is not 3 quarter notes. That is 1 quarter note. The rest of these, fine. 1, 2, 3. These are all great. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Where is our 3? This is the end of the piece. This should have 3. Well, the incomplete first measure that we have here, our 1 here, our 1 beat, plus the incomplete last measure, which we have our 2 beats, equals a 3-beat measure. So our 3 that's missing is actually this beat at the beginning. This is actually our 3. That is the most important thing to know about the anacrusis. This incomplete measure, so this incomplete measure is called the anacrusis. More familiarly, you're going to know it as an upbeat or a pickup, and you'll probably have heard this before, but officially, anacrusis. Usually a piece that begins with an anacrusis ends with an incomplete measure, and this is our incomplete measure. So you have the anacrusis at the beginning and the incomplete measure. Taken together, the incomplete first and last measures add up to one complete measure. So we have our 1, 2, 1, 2 over here, we have our 3 over there, and that is our anacrusis. All right, any questions? Leave them down in the comments or in the classroom, and I will see you when we start chapter 1. In fact, you can complete now, if you haven't already, complete all these questions all the questions on page 39. I will have the answers for questions 3 and 4 up for next lecture. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Take care, everyone.